Monica, we're good to go.
Right. Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, first Friday of March.
Good morning to you.
Thank you. Thank you. And we are ready. We are in our final of this series, of this year's series. And today we're going to provide you with some awareness resources and some as we go into it. So I want to thank you for joining us for this series as we go into the next phase of it. And also, as you know, as before we get started, so please make sure that you're on mute. Add your name and your ESC or your district in the chat. Also, if you have questions, put them in the chat. We have two great presenters today, and there's some other information on another worthy partner in our work of prevention and awareness. So today we're going to have first Unbound with Jessica Sequoia and Krista Mayfield. And then we'll have Protect with Denise Mears. And so I'm gonna turn it over to these ladies, and thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge to our ESCs, our leaders in the work of prevention and awareness for child abuse and human trafficking. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Monica and team, for having us on. We're thrilled to be here today to talk to everyone about what Unbound is doing in the anti-human trafficking world, specifically when we're talking about the prevention of exploitation and abuse of our children in our schools. So we're going to take the next few minutes to walk you through kind of our scope and our history and what we're currently offering to schools across Texas and even across the country. So just to give you a little background on our organization, Unbound is a 10-year-old anti-human trafficking organization. We began in Waco, Texas, and we now have offices across the state in North Texas, serving Fort Worth and Dallas. Here in Waco, we have an office in Bryan College Station, and we have an office in Houston. We're also launching an office in Austin this year, so that will be getting off the ground shortly. And we're just really excited for the ways that we've been able to serve these communities, specifically, excuse me, the past 4 or 5 years in a really strategic way with youth prevention. So all of our offices in the state house prevention and advocacy services together, which we think is a real strength because we're able to really directly hand off any needs and resources in the advocacy area to the communities that we serve and the school communities that we serve. And it also means that all of our work is informed through data and research, but also experience of what's going on locally with exploitation, with trafficking in the areas that we serve. So we have both the data and research background for our education programs, and also because we're housed with our advocates, we know what's happening real time in our schools, on our streets, in our communities. And so it just builds this beautiful model where we're able to really bring real-time, cutting edge best practice and blend it together so that our school communities are getting the benefit of both sides of that work. So we have a holistic program for youth prevention specifically called Keeping Our Children Safe, or Keeping Students Safe. And it really has several different parts, and I'm going to talk about the overview, and then I'm going to pass it off to Krista Mayfield out of our Houston office, who has been instrumental in the creation of some of these tools and their implementation. And so she'll talk with you about the specifics of how they're used. But you can go ahead to the next slide. Awesome. So you can see here our mission statement: we exist to support survivors and resource communities to fight human trafficking. So everything that we do regarding prevention education is meant to be very collaborative with the school community. So we want to come in and not just educate the school personnel or the caregiver or the students. We want to educate everyone so that the entire school community is given those resources. And then we also have ways to on-ramp anyone who needs services through our advocacy program. And Unbound offices, and each one of our offices across the state do have the grant as the CSAY advocate for our area. So that means the Commercial Sexual Exploitation of Youth Advocate Agency. We are able to serve in that capacity in each one of our Texas offices. So we're really excited and proud of that designation. So go ahead to the next slide. Awesome. So starting here, I'll finish up and then we'll hand off to Krista. Like I said, we have multiple offerings that Krista will go over in detail, but about 4 years ago, we really drilled down on how do we get this message to as many youth as possible. And so to do that, we really wanted to capitalize on assembly style and classroom style settings where we could get at least the basic messages around human trafficking to a student body. And so we created a program called Keeping Students Safe that was formatted specifically for assemblies and classrooms. And we partnered with the Baylor School of Social Work and did pre and post surveys of over 1,600 students in the Central Texas community from schools in the rural side and in more urban areas, urban demographics around Central Texas to make sure that we had a thorough cross-section of our state's students. And we asked them ahead of time some questions about their perceived knowledge about different elements of exploitation. And then we did our presentation, did a post survey, and then we gave all those results to social workers at the Baylor School of Social Work. And they did a thorough academic analysis and wrote a program about their findings. And that article was actually published in the American Journal of Human Trafficking. So we're super thrilled and proud that this program has not only been used, as you can see, in over 68,000 students, but we also have statistical research-based analysis of its effectiveness. And yeah, so Chris is going to talk in details, but I just wanted to give you guys that big overview. And I will say we all have experienced COVID and our limitations with students over the past year and a half. We are just now getting back into schools in a personal way, not through Zoom, in the last couple of weeks. And I know a lot of us in this industry immediately had concerns about the increase of exploitation that was going to occur as our students were not in person in their schools, as they were online learning or maybe not even showing up for online learning. And I have to tell you guys, there's going to be, I think we're going to all be finding this and confirming this in the next weeks, months, and even years. But in our first times back in schools with assembly style size groups, we are seeing a marked increase in students making outcries. In our surveys, our post survey, we always provide a way for a student to say, I think I've been a victim of some type of exploitation or trafficking specifically. And we typically get about a 1% to 2% identification of an outcry in any typical training that we give in a school with youth in middle school or high school. But we had 14 outcries at our most recent assembly style training in a room of less than 400 students. So that's a large percentage increase of students who have experienced exploitation compared to the consistent ratios we were getting pre-COVID. So I'm just really thrilled that you are all on this call today, taking this topic seriously, learning about what you can do to keep your students safe and partner with organizations in your area who have a proven track record of excellence and of effectiveness. It's never been more important than now, I believe, to make sure that our students have this life-saving message. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to my co-partner, Krista, and let her give us the nuts and bolts about how these prevention programs that Unbound's created work and how we can serve your students.
Absolutely. So I'll be focusing on our two kind of school-based prevention programs today. First, we'll talk about what Jessica was sharing, keeping students safe. So we really were asking, what does it look like to create a holistic education model where not just an individual group, but the entire community is all on the same page? We know that trafficking is happening here, and we're all in our prospective roles, if you will, to combat human trafficking. And so we designed Keeping Students Safe to be that holistic model that educates school and youth-based communities on what human trafficking is, how it happens, and what you need to know to keep your students safe. So professionals and school personnel are going to see and interact with students in a very different way than parents are. And of course, we have our kids. And so we wanted everyone to have this information, but have it specified to what does the parent need to know to keep their kids safe in the home? What does the teacher need to know to watch out for their students? What do kids need to know about empowering themselves and each other? And how can they collaborate and work together to make sure that their school is a safe place? So this model is a combination of 3 presentations, one directed at professionals and school personnel, one directed at the parents and caregivers, and one directed at students. And our ideal situation is that we would be invited into a school or a youth-based community, for example, a after-school program or a religious organization, and we would get to train the students in that group, the teachers or the personnel, and the parents in separate trainings. So I'll kind of go through these trainings and what they cover. We have a wide range. Under school personnel, we have quite a few options. We have a presentation for educators, an option for counselors that comes with an extended training, school nurses, school resource officers, even bus drivers. So these are all unique presentations that are specifically designed to target that audience and say, hey, in your role, you have the opportunity to prevent or intervene when a child is being exploited. Here's what you need to know. Here's what it might look like. Here's what you do. Our nurses training comes with CE credits. For all of our licensed professionals, our training covers or comes with a Health and Human Services certificate of completion that satisfies that requirement that our licensed workers in the state receive human trafficking training. And today we are set to hear back about our CEUs for our mental health training for social workers. So we should get that news literally today, and hopefully that will be another accreditation that we can offer for professionals looking to get training for this. But again, in each and every one of these settings, we're letting these professionals know you have a key opportunity to identify when a youth might be in that process of being groomed or being exploited. And your eyes and your gut instincts and your training can make a massive difference in providing this kid the resources and the opportunity to get them out of that situation and keep them safe. So the next slide, I'll show you a little bit about our parent and caregiver training. So this is about a 1-hour training given to parents, guardians, caregivers. That could be foster parents, but anyone that's in that kind of caregiver role in a young person's life. We want them to know, what human trafficking is, that it's not just what's in the movies, that it's not just being kidnapped. We talk about the grooming process and the profile of victims and places where trafficking is often occurring, specifically on the internet. So we talk about that role of social media and what parents need to know about how to have conversations with their kids to keep them safe and to know what to talk about and how to have, healthy social media and internet boundaries in their home. We do talk about the impact of pornography. We find that parents are often very unaware that in the last 10, 15 years, the use of pornography and how it is involved in a child's life has changed so much that parents don't know how to talk to their kids about this or interact with their kids or have conversations. And so we talk about how pornography is connected to human trafficking. Obviously, red flags they might see while they're in their home with this youth and how to report it. We want to build safe families, and we want to empower and equip parents to have these multi-layered ongoing conversations with their students so that home is a safe place. And in our caregiver training, you'll hear me say that multiple times. Establish yourself as the safe person. If the trafficker's done their job right, if this abuser is kind of doing what they're supposed to do, their goal is to make themselves be the safe person. And so we want to equip parents to help them understand and build that relationship with their kids to where when their kid is going through something, or they did send a picture, or they got in a situation that was sticky and they don't know what to do, they're going to go to their guardian. They're going to go to their parent or caregiver because that relationship's been established. And then we talk to our students. So that'll be the next slide. And I'll kind of show you this 1-hour assembly classroom presentation that Jessica was talking about. We've trained over 68,000 students with this presentation across the state over the last several years. And like Jessica said, we've had students leave our presentation and tell the counselor, this is happening to me. We've had kids come up to us and say, hey, hypothetically, if this and this were to happen, what does this mean? And then, like Jessica said, she's had, this massive increase in students making outcries on these post surveys after COVID. So we know that this is something that they're experiencing. And what I've come to learn over the last several years of implementing this presentation is that we're not teaching kids something they don't already know. Most of the time, kids are very familiar with what's happening out there. What they don't know is that it's dangerous, that it's illegal, that there's help for them. And so our goal is to reframe it, to give them language, to give them context, and to empower them to notice these red signs early enough and know how to get help. So we're talking about the definition of trafficking and helping them in their own terms understand what that could look like. Really peeling back the fancy language and helping them see the scenarios that play out. We talk about the grooming process and red flags in relationships, healthy versus unhealthy relationships, and how that ties into human trafficking. That human trafficking is happening in the context of unhealthy relationships, and you could spot it early if you know what to look for. And then how to recognize red flags in peers. When we talk to kids, it is never fear-based, it is always empowering. When we go in, I'm always saying, hey, yeah, I fight human trafficking for a living, but you're the ones that walk the halls of a high school every day, not me. You're the one that can make a difference. And so from the get-go, I'm not saying there's a boogeyman that you need to watch out for, right? We're talking about you can make a difference. You can be the change. And so as they're listening, they're receiving this information from this context of, I'm going to learn this to watch out for my friends. And of course, inevitably, that's going to help keep them safe as well. So that is our Keeping Students Safe package. These are one-time presentations that we can offer various audiences in your communities to make sure that everyone is on the same page and together we are knowing how to stop trafficking. But our next program in the next slide is one I am very thrilled to talk to you about today. I'm very proud of this and really excited for you guys to get to experience this. So 2020 hit and we realized the world is probably never going to be the same. And we might not have access to students like we have in the past. But in addition, we're all kind of used to this video-based situation. And so we were asking, how can we get this information to classrooms via video? But then my second question was, I've spent the last 5 years plus talking at students from a stage, which I love. I'm a performer, it's my thing. But I want to include kids in the conversation. They have something to say. They have ideas, they have solutions. And I wanted a place for them to engage with this material and then talk about it and be a part of building something. And so we created Sentinels. This is a 5-part video-based curriculum that teachers or educators can use in their classroom with their students. All the instructions are there. There's a teacher's guide and a student workbook. And the teacher, the educator is fully empowered to implement this program with their kids. So we can go to the next slide with just a few more details on this program. In these videos, we took the material from Keeping Students Safe, that peer-reviewed, studied, tried and true presentation that we know is giving results. We spread that content out over 5 videos. And then in these videos, we also included interviews from advocates, law enforcement, a survivor, a victim's mom, teachers, and other students. Students from Project Protect Our Children's Youth Action Board. What a beautiful partnership. I was so honored to get to be a part of that and so thrilled. I love our city and what we're doing. So we wanted these kids to have the opportunity to hear from various adults saying, we're here for you. We wanted them to hear a police officer say, we believe you, we know this is a thing, you can come talk to us. Wanted them to hear that from teachers, from advocates, from other students. We wanted kids to have this opportunity to say, this is really happening and there's resources and there's help for you out there. So the other thing that is kind of designed after they watch these videos that are full of information in a very youth-friendly, non-graphic, of course, way, the goal is for them to really understand and hear what it might look like for them and what they can do. And then there's discussion questions after every episode. who's vulnerable in our school? What would it look like if trafficking couldn't happen here? What would have to change? And so we're giving them the opportunity to be the solution creators. So for every episode, there are discussion questions, there's activities that the teacher can do with the students, assign as homework or however they want to use it. And then after the whole program, there's additional opportunities. We included the Youth Action Board in a Box toolkit designed by Project Protect Our Children. If you want to just take this and run and make a youth action board on your campus, here's how to do that. If you want to keep your kids learning, here's some ideas for some research papers. Here's some different things that kids can do. Here's more resources. So it really is designed to put this information in the hands of students and their community. And as a community, as a class, as a group together, we're going to problem solve. How can we address this? How can we address this? The video is beautiful. The testimonies are powerful. And I'm just so encouraged and excited to get to share this with Texas and with you guys and let you know that this is an option. I'm really hopeful that our kids will realize that they're not just sitting ducks, that they are our future and that they have so much potential to create positive change. So you can find more information on our website, unboundhouston.org/sentinels. If you are interested in using this program, you can go to that website and you'll see a link, request access, and you'll fill out an application. Now, if you are looking to kind of preview the material before you implement it, if you are a decision maker in your district or your campus and you're not the one actually implementing it, you'll see there's that district level admin. It's a shorter application, but everyone that's going to get access to this will fill out this application and we will send you the link where you can sign up and get going and preview that material, download all of the resources. We are also including pre and a post survey, and we are working with a doctoral candidate who is working on program analysis. And so she will be gathering that data and making sure that Sentinels is as effective as keeping students safe was. So we are just thrilled and hopeful. We're very hopeful that this curriculum will have our intended effect, which is to empower kids to become Sentinels, watchmen on the wall, those that know how to watch and report and become Sentinels in their own community. And I'm really believing that when we see kids rise up and take their place, we will see a shift in how trafficking happens, and hopefully we'll see that decrease. So that is Sentinels. I'm really excited to offer that. So just a last little recap of Unbound, our last slide. This is kind of who we are and just our mission and our vision. We are always hope-filled and empowering. Fear doesn't do a great job of changing people, but love does, power does, hope does. And so everything that we talk about is always going to come through with that lens. Our value is to be holistic because we know that human trafficking doesn't happen in a vacuum. And so that's why we want to equip communities as much as possible to empower them to do this together and to kind of come at it from all angles and make sure that we're addressing the whole gambit. And that community-centered piece, as we've implemented this in our various offices across the state, we have seen it be so powerful to have these personal relationships with our school districts, with our regions, where they know us, we know them, they can call us, and being able to come in and be a person and a face and provide this material for them. And then they can call us back. And like Jessica said, we have advocacy services. We've had students leave our presentations and self-identify. I ran a program just last week where 2 girls disclosed, and the next week they were connected to an advocate in our program. That's the dream, is that we're not just telling schools this is happening and they have this can of worms and they don't know what to do with it. We're saying there's Unbound, but there's also other CSA advocates across the state. Connect with them, build those relationships. We really believe in this model of relationships and making sure that we are there on the ground supporting our communities. And so that's who we are. So thankful for this opportunity to share with you guys today. I don't know if or when there'll be time for questions, but I will be here if you have them. And again, I've sent Rod a couple of links for our Keeping Students Safe. material and our Sentinels material, and we're just excited to get this to you guys, and hopefully that it's helpful, and we're just excited to see what will come of it. So thanks so much for your opportunity. Oh, perfect. Any questions can be put in the chat. Awesome, appreciate it.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I am so excited to be able to have the opportunity to share with you two amazing programs and resources. My name is Denise Mears. I'm the Executive Director and founder of Project Protect Our Children. Good, advance. So I will be discussing the Youth Action Board program, a program that we launched in 2020, and I will be sharing some details with you. I'm very excited to share a screen with Krista Mayfield, because as she said, our Youth Action Board members had the privilege of participating in the Sentinel program. So you will be able to see them if you see the Sentinel program. And then the Protect program, which is prevention curriculum for K through 12th grade, in addition to 3 other prongs. So it's a multi-tiered, comprehensive human trafficking prevention program. So I am going to begin with the Youth Action Board. The program itself was conceptualized in 2019 and launched in 2020. The program comes from the thought process of who is on the front line within our schools as anti-human trafficking stakeholders. When we come together, we often talk about our educators. We often talk about school personnel being on the front line and being the ones that in fact can see those changes and be able to intercede. But who is one step ahead of them? But the students themselves. And so the program was launched amidst a pandemic because honestly, pandemic didn't stop human trafficking, so we were not going to stop for it. So if you can advance. So as I said, we often talk about who is on the front line. Is it our educators? Is it our police? Is it our school bus employees? Is it our cafeteria workers? Who has the ability to really notice and recognize what is going on in a student's life? Well, what about the students themselves? So we wanted to give them the opportunity because we believe that by doing so, our youth can become champions in the fight against human trafficking. So our call to action was launched in 2020 through various social media accounts online and a targeted word of mouth initiative through the pilot school district. And I'm happy to say that we had 6 young students answer that call to action. We wanted to give them the opportunity. If they wanted to join the fight, we wanted to give them the resources and every tool that they would need to be able to bring human trafficking awareness to their school campuses. So the call to action takes place where we basically say, if this is something you're interested in, passionate about, we will provide you the resources you need. You know, being able to be within the schools, being able to have the students themselves create and champion different activities and events to bring human trafficking awareness to their school campus undoubtedly can reach and impact their peers at a level that cannot be attained otherwise. The Youth Action Board is a collective body of students with diverse perspectives, experiences, identities, and cultural differences that come together to work towards the same shared goal. The program itself is a scalable, replicable club program. So after an in-depth training, if you could advance the slide, board members are given the opportunity to collectively collaborate brainstorm and reflect on solutions and invent ideas to fill the gaps that allow human trafficking to persist and raise awareness about human trafficking amongst their peers, their educators, and community. The Youth Action Board itself is student-led and student-driven. We simply provide the tools and the resources while their school campus provides the platform needed for the board members' voices to be heard, as well as the audience to hear them. Next slide. Our January 2021 Youth Action Board members brought human trafficking awareness to over 4,000 students, school staff, and community members through events and activities that they conceptualized, planned, and implemented, even amidst COVID. What our inaugural Youth Action Board accomplished that first year was truly groundbreaking, and we are committed to growing the movement of engaged, educated, and empowered youth ready to take action in the fight to end human trafficking. Next slide. The 2021-2022 Youth Action Board membership has more than doubled in size, providing validation that the inaugural board's efforts has been recognized by their peers and that the movement indeed was growing. Next slide. Fall 2021, we launched our Youth Action Board in a Box Student Engagement Toolkit that provides complete program plan, tools, and templates to bring the scalable and replicable club program to schools and youth serving groups across the state of Texas. The reality is there are many different events and activities that youth can conceptualize, anywhere from designing t-shirts to spread awareness within their communities to sharing different human trafficking facts during sporting events. At the end of the day, the program itself is student-led and student-driven. So the objective of the program is to provide them with the knowledge and the skills that they would need to be able to conceptualize, plan, and implement activities during the month of January, which is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Next slide. So our 2021 Youth Action Board had such an amazing response from our community members, from Congressman Dan Crenshaw to the Houston Police Department Vice Division Human Trafficking Unit, to the Vice Division Commander, to Dennis Mark, the Task Force Coordinator for the Human Trafficking Rescue Alliance of Southern District of Texas. It was something that had not been done before. And we truly feel that this program can be what changes the course of human trafficking. So we were happy to launch the Youth Action Board in a Box Student Engagement Toolkit. If you can, next slide. Across our area, our service area, and then throughout the state of Texas. Because what we found, what our Youth Action Board members were able to provide during that year is something that has not been done before. So what was the experience of our Youth Action Board members serving on the board? So statements from the Youth Action Board themselves speak volume. So one such quote, the Youth Action Board has provided me with an invaluable opportunity to come together with fellow peers who share the same passion as I do in an effort to combat human trafficking. Being a part of the Youth Action Board this past year was both a dream fulfilled and an honor bestowed. This is simply because the passion to end human trafficking is a common goal that ignites each and every YB member that is a part of this program. An important basis that everyone on the board understands is that we are not there for ourselves. We are there to start a revolution to combat the pandemic of human trafficking. This past year has helped me grow as a person and as an advocate for survivors, because being a part of a group of such selfless and caring people has made me realize that alone we can make a difference, but united we are stronger. Next slide. The Student Engagement Toolkit contains everything that one would need to bring this replicable, scalable club program to your school campus. What we found as this program was being launched was that there was not another one like it. And so we believe firmly in collaborative and collective working together to end human trafficking. And so we began documenting every process, every plan. And so the Student Engagement Toolkit gives you all of those templates, all of those documents, everything that you would need to be able to bring this program to your school. Excellent. We realized in doing so that the heart of the Youth Action Board program was the training itself. It is a deep dive into human trafficking, into the understanding of what gaps exist and how can they, as students, help fill those gaps in their school community. What programs, what events, what activities would most benefit their school campus? So to be able to provide that training and additional resources to schools that may not have the ability or be within our service area, we are launching this spring the 2022 Youth Action Board Online of Community Practice, or as we like to call it, our community of change makers or a community of champions, because there's certainly all of those. This powerful COP platform will be a space for collaboration and knowledge creation to deliver the resources needed for sustainable impact across the state of Texas within our schools and communities. The COP will harness the collective intelligence of the Youth Action Board advisors from across the state of Texas while providing invaluable resources to all of our Youth Action Board members. Our inaugural Youth Action Board members started the movement in engaged and educated and empowered youth, stepping up to become part of the solution. The COP will grow this youth-driven anti-human trafficking movement to create positive change and turn the tide across our great state. What our Youth Action Board program has accomplished is truly groundbreaking, and we are committed to growing the movement of engaged and educated and empowered youth ready to take action in the fight to end human trafficking. We really hope that you will join us and help bring the scalable and replicable club program to your school or youth group. We realized we were creating the wheel as we did this, but in doing so, it just makes us that much happier to be able to share it with all of you. We want to grow the youth-driven anti-human trafficking movement to create positive change and truly turn the tide. So the big question is, how would a Youth Action Board program impact human trafficking awareness in your community and on your campus? So I would like to leave this section of the presentation with one of our Youth Action Board members' quotes. Some might say that our generation is too young to do anything about it, or that we don't know enough to make an impact. But in reality, it is people our age that are the ones being exploited. Shouldn't we be the ones stepping up in courage and boldness to help them? Shouldn't this generation be the ones who are working to bring awareness to the harsh reality that slavery still exists today, so that the generations after us can live in an overall safer world? I believe the answer is yes, and I'm willing to serve and take action today to set the captives free. I want to be part of the change, to be part of the solution, not the one pouring into the problem. And through young students joining together with one voice, there truly is no better time to change than now. To gain access to our Youth Action Board Student Engagement Toolkit and our community of practice, our community of change makers and champions online platform, you will simply, yes, I see your comment, Todd, absolutely. You will simply email Youth Action Board at projectprotectourchildren.com. And then we will send you over a form. And from there, we will just have a memorandum of understanding that says this is the relationship. Everything within the Youth Action Board program is free for all schools. We are also in the process in 2022 and 2023, creating modules that will be able to bring a similar version of the Youth Action Board program to middle schools and colleges as well. So from our memorandum of understanding, we will just agree that you will keep us up to date. There's, some paperwork with everything. And then you will be granted access to this community platform where you will have the ability to talk with other Youth Action Board advisors on other campuses across the state of Texas. So if we could advance. So now I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I'm going to go from empowering today's youth to protecting them. So the PROTECT program is prevention, education, and training for schools K through 12. We believe that an educated student is a protected student. The PROTECT program comes to us from California. In 2015, 3 nonprofits joined together: the Frederick Douglass Family Initiatives, Love Never Fails, and 3 Strands Global. 3 Strands Global being the managing partner of the PROTECT program. It is being used in over 200 school districts. They've educated over 500,000 students. It came to Texas in the year 2020. And if you could advance the next slide. It is a comprehensive multi-tiered approach, 4-prong approach. The program itself starts with working with the school district to ensure that they have a protocol in place so that if a minor is identified or self-identifies as a victim of human trafficking, that there is a coordinated, agreed upon response protocol and procedures in place. The last thing we would want is to have a disclosure come out of a program without having an agreed protocol, so that we can ensure that that student receives the adequate support going forward. Training for all school staff, whether that is bus school drivers to cafeteria workers, to school administrators, to educators. The education itself. PROTECT offers trauma-informed lesson plans for both elementary, middle, and high school students. The lessons are age-appropriate, evidence-informed, research-based, survivor-informed, and TEKS-aligned. And research. We have to know that what we're doing is making a difference. And we want to be able to provide you with the statistics to show that what the PROTECT program has done in your school district. If you can advance. So the PROTECT program offers adaptable social and emotional learning curriculum for all ages. As a part of our effort to educate children about human trafficking prevention, it's imperative that adults within the school community are also equipped with knowledge of the forms of human trafficking, trauma-informed practices, and reporting procedures. Understanding the vulnerabilities that may place a child at greater risk can help one recognize the red flags and ultimately stop exploitation from happening. So the PROTECT online system will help you do so. School districts will be given a login where they will have the ability to access that system. And we will be putting a chat link to a form if you're interested. I would love to walk you through the program itself and the online platform. And also we'll be able to give you access to the curriculum so that you can view it as well. It is all TEKS aligned, including the 22-23 health TEKS. Next slide. The Human Trafficking 101 for all school staff. So participants will learn how to understand the federal definition of severe forms of trafficking in persons and associated key terms. They'll be able to identify possible indicators of sex and labor trafficking and recognize different strategies commonly used by traffickers to groom and recruit children or youth. Human Trafficking 102, participants will learn how to describe risk and protective factors for children and youth, how to recognize different indicators of complex trauma, and how to develop trauma-informed skills to help support those that have been trafficked or are at risk. Human Trafficking 103 will help participants identify different indicators of human trafficking and how to respond to disclosures from children or youth in a culturally responsive, linguistically appropriate, and trauma-informed manner. They will learn how to understand the different reporting requirements for child trafficking and their role in the process, and recognize how prevention education can truly change everything. All of Human Trafficking 101, 102, and 103 is provided with a trauma-informed lens and survivor-informed as well. So Protect Prevention Education provides opportunities to equip students with knowledge that will enhance their personal boundaries, build resilience, and increase protective skills. It is available online for educators to download and implement immediately with the children and youth that they work with. Next slide. Our curriculum focuses on self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. The K-3 curriculum, My Inner Voice. This curriculum teaches students how to listen and respond to their inner voice as a safety tool that they can trust. They're going to learn about personal boundaries and how to identify trusted adults in their lives that are available to help them. The grades 4 through 6, safe people, safe places, and safe choices. This curriculum educates students about safety, their rights, and ways to communicate when their boundaries have been crossed. They're going to learn about resilience and how to identify safe people, safe places, and safe choices. Grades 7 through 8, protecting a masterpiece. The curriculum addresses key health-related concepts, encourages creative expression, and allows students to practice positive decision-making strategies. They're going to learn about the different forms of abuse and human trafficking, as well as how to look out for one another. Grades 9 through 10, understanding and recognizing human trafficking. This curriculum teaches students about healthy relationships, unhealthy relationships, and the different forms of human trafficking. They'll be empowered with the tools that they need to be able to recognize unsafe situations and implement healthy decision-making strategies. Grades 11th and 12th is building resilience and protective skills. This curriculum encourages students to build their resilience through strategies that will help them thrive in the workplace and beyond. They will learn about different forms of human trafficking, including labor, the importance of their rights, as well as how to advocate for themselves and others. I will say, and I will echo what Jessica spoke of with regards to disclosures. We are seeing more within the classrooms. The theory of change behind the Protect program is to increase community awareness, because we too believe that fighting human trafficking is a collaborative, collective endeavor. We want to increase awareness of the different signs, the forms of, and tactics that human trafficking predators are using. So this includes, but it's not limited to, programs for students, parents, teachers, bus drivers, counselors, and other school administrators, as well as first responders. We believe that positive behavioral changes in students will be a direct result after receiving this curriculum, thus seeing a reduction of incident rates. Prevention education, preventing the crime before it happens through education. Next slide. So the impact. Over 500,000 students have received the Protect Prevention education. 94% of the students surveyed before and after receiving Protect Prevention education report that they can now define human trafficking. And this is huge. If you ask 10 people walking down the street, 10 students, if they can define human trafficking, 93% of students surveyed before and after receiving Protect Prevention education report that they now understand how to protect themselves and others from exploitation. Next slide. So going forward, how to contact us. If you have questions about the Youth Action Board or would like to reserve your free Youth Action Board student engagement toolkit and access to our community of changemakers, please email youthactionboard@projectprotectourchildren.com. If you have questions about the Protect program, you can also email educate@projectprotectourchildren.com, or Rod is going to put within the chat a link, because through the generous support of the Governor's Office of Child Sex Trafficking team, your school has the opportunity to take part in the Protect program at no cost to you. This would allow for continued training and education through the 22-23 school year. Protect has been implemented across the state, and it is aligned with the TEKS, complementing the key concepts that students are already being asked to learn in the classroom. Thank you so much for giving me this time in the platform to be able to share what we are doing. All of our programs and services that I discussed today are available all throughout the state of Texas. So I hope I will be hearing from you soon. I will now turn this over to Rod and Monica.
Okay. Well, we appreciate, as you guys have seen throughout the presentation, I've tried to flood chat with resources from both these organizations and information. Also tried to give you information on locating your local CAC or CC, because those are important organizations to know of, especially for how to help with aftercare when a student makes that outcry and coordinating those services. There was one question for both of you that that was asked in chat, and they give you both the time to answer it. Program availability with SHAC committees now, with Senate Bill 9, SHAC committees are now required to be tasked to review materials before and be able to make them available to districts and parents. So what would schools need to do to comply with SHAC being able to review materials before their use? So Denise, since you just got done, we'll let you go first, and then Krista or Jessica can follow up.
So believe it or not, these processes are not new to us. This is how we have always operated. We've always felt like the School Health and Advisory Council needed to review the curriculum. So we already have plans and processes in place, as well as for parents viewing the curriculum and all school educators that take part in deciding which curriculums are being utilized within their school district. So all they need to do is let us know. We are here to meet the needs of the individual school districts. We are here, we understand this time, especially with COVID, we need to be flexible and we need to be able to pivot. And that's what we want to do. So we already have plans and processes in place, and that's just simply working with your school district and sending you the links and making everything available to you at that time. So no issues there. And I do want to say, I noticed, I kind of pulled up the chat, all of our programs, well, I'm sorry, the Youth Action Board program is not available in Spanish. However, the Protect K through 12 prevention education is available in Spanish.
Awesome. So I agree with Denise. We are absolutely here for you guys. All of our presentations and programs can be previewed. We are working with our local SHACs to kind of arrange those and go through that process. And so if you are interested in using Unbound's curriculum, reach out to us. We even have, for Sentinels, we have options for preview. We have an option for parents. You know, according to SB 9, we need to give parents access to what the kids are seeing. So there'll be a version for them to look through. So again, like Denise said, no problem here. We are working with every school district we can to make sure that whoever wants this has this available.
There was, and you guys answered the two dominant questions in chat. If there's any other questions in chat as Monica continues, please make sure you let us know those. We want to make sure you have that time to have those answers. But thank you so much for the information provided so far.
So as we bring this to the close, I always want to remind you of our No Go Tell student posters that are required to be posted, and they are available in English and in Spanish on our website, as you'll see the link here, as you can go forth into that. Next slide, Nancy. And then also our mandatory reporting requirements, and contacting law enforcement, contact DFPS. Either we prefer, if there's an account issue, to call, preferring to the hotline, but or the emailing, I will put it that way. So prefer to do a phone call other than going through our online process. And then also, but if that's the case, you may do it, report to DFPS by the online. And then in the case of human trafficking, we're doing both. We're doing the reporting to your local law enforcement and to your, through the DFPS. So just wanted to remind you of those activities that's going on. Next. And we, as you know, we like to know how what your thoughts are on our webinar series and what we're providing and how we can always improve. So if you take a moment to the survey link using the QR code, that will help us with feedback. And if there's anything that you want to hear about, see about, further info based on what we've covered in the last 2 years, please drop it in the chat. We will take that back and move to the next level of what can we do next time for everyone as we think about the 22-23 school year, and then also our summer opportunities to have conversations. So if there's something you want to hear about or that you think this is missing, please let us know. We can address that.
Some questions that just came up in chat we want to make sure we touch base with. So would these programs also cater to elementary students or special needs students?
Yes, absolutely. With the Protect K through 12 human trafficking prevention education curriculum. Absolutely.
Okay.
Unbound's programs are designed for middle school and high school students. They can absolutely be adjusted for special needs students. And of course, Sentinels, because it's implemented by the educator in the classroom, they have a ton of opportunities to make adjustments as needed for their own students.
Okay. And then a question about resource links being able to, that were in chat, being able to be shared. Yes, absolutely. We want people to be aware of these resources. We put them in our Title IV state initiative newsletter often, that's shared out by your education service centers. And so, yes, we want you to be aware of these resources, and TEA's webpage has a lot of these linked as well. So the posters for the No-Go Tell, if you go to the abuse prevention, TEA abuse prevention webpage that I put in chat, you'll be able to see a link to those No-Go Tell posters posted there. The question for CEUs, Monica, I think that'll go to you, but it looks like there were 2 questions concerning that.
Let me verify with that. I do not believe that we are giving CPUs, but I will check to make sure, because it's a part of that time requirement. So let me verify with our other side of the house with our educator training, and then making sure that these will do count for CPUs.
Know that at the end of this will be, we have a list of everybody that is in attendance because of the registration, so we'll be able to follow up that way. So doesn't look like we had any other questions there. Again, you'll see the QR code is to you there. Guys, your feedback is really important. It lets us know what we're doing and what we need to continue to offer. The programs being offered today were partially because of those surveys and those results. So you can see in the chat, you have the QR code link that way if scanning things makes your phone anxious. But again, appreciate the opportunity to be able to work with you all today and provide you information. We're gonna wait just a little bit longer to see if there's any other questions in chat, but hopefully We've provided a great amount of information for you to be able to help your school and help your students, because that's ultimately our goal. But otherwise, I think we are done for the day, and we'll stick around a little bit in case there's anything in chat. We really appreciate the opportunity to work with you, and again, appreciate your efforts helping the students of Texas. Thank you so much.